All right, not sure if you guys saw this, but the U.S. House of Representatives, the subcommittee, has finally came out with their review of C19 pandemic, everything that happened. They basically go over everything, uh, you know, everything that happened in 2020, 2021, 2022, and it's very damning. I mean, basically almost everything that us theorists were saying, eh, for the most part, came to light. It's coming to light. Now, you know, am I gonna expect anybody to be, tried or put on? No, they're not gonna do anything about this. Fauci has walked into the sunset. Nothing's gonna happen to him after he already came out and made up or told everybody that he made up all the guidance and it wasn't behind anything scientific. But at least we can get some closure, or at least have some normies start to realize, what they were told was BS. And if you look deep enough, you could start to realize that, most of this stuff, I mean, it would almost make it seem like it was all a lie, all a scam, right? I mean, they come out and they talk about, well, we're going to go through it real quick. As you can see, it's 557 pages. I haven't finished reading it. I'm kind of skimming through it. It's a lot, and the link will be in the description if you want to take a look at it. I'd advise you to. It's quite interesting, seeing as all the things that they do come out and basically, they solidify what we've been saying. And mind you, it is bipartisan, right? So this isn't just, the Republicans. It's bipartisan. They got a whole bunch of people that are that were working on this. So we're gonna go straight to the table of contents. I think this is what it is right here. Oh wow, here we go. Now first, they basically say one of the first things, SARS-CoV causes likely emerged from the laboratory. I mean, we kind of know that. Research related accident. I mean, if you believe that, I I still have my thoughts about that, but as if you remember right at the beginning, they wouldn't even admit to that. Let's see, Dr. Fauci was the one to disprove the lab leak theory. So he was the one who was going against it. I mean, he was getting money for the Wuhan lab. I believe they're still there, still doing research. You know what I'm saying? Like that goes to show you just how corrupt everything is when something like this big could happen, and yet all the reasons why this situation happened, they don't even go back and try to correct things. It's ridiculous. So they talked about the mask mandates were ineffective, and they really came out and just straight up said that everything we did wasn't based in science. I mean, they literally say that, which is quite damning. I can't believe, the 6 feet, the 6 feet in, what was it? There was like that little saying, what 6 feet distance, 6 foot distance or whatever. Yeah, that was complete and utter nonsense. Eco Alliance, Peter Daszak, I think that's his name. He's in here somewhere, and he talks about, or they talk about him, and just you know all the taxpayer money and everything that came to deal with all this stuff. I mean, there's millions and billions of dollars of our own money that was getting planned and pushed while they're, researching gain of function that they're not supposed to be using, and it's all crazy. So one of the big things they do say is that these are 7 things right here at the top that they basically have all come. Every member in the committee have came together and basically said, hey, these are things that we agree on, that we've realized after reviewing all the evidence, right? So basically the possibility that COVID-19 emerged from the lab, Eco Alliance Inc., Dr. Peter Daszak should never again receive U.S. taxpayer dollars. I love that. Never again. Now, will he? I bet you he is right now. Scientific messaging must be clear and concise, backed by evidentiary support, and come from trusted messengers, such as frontline doctors treating patients. That was another thing. We had, Fauci. I remember when he was at some kind of committee, and somebody was asking Fauci, how many patients have you taken care of, Fauci? And, the answer was none. They had other doctors that have doctors like Peter McCullough and Pierre Corey and all these other doctors that actually were in the field and actually, you know, uh, taking care of people that had COVID. They just completely disregarded them, banned them, censored them. It's just complete ridiculous. Public health officials must work to regain Americans' trust. Americans want to be educated, not indoctrinated. That is very well said, but that's not going to happen. I think the trust is done. I think it's gone now. Someone like me, I've always, been skeptical of a lot of these institutions. But then when you do something so big as long as they did with COVID, and all the things they tried to push down our throat, now we start to look back and look at all the other things that, we're like, well, wait a minute, let's look at this pharmaceutical. RFK talks about we shouldn't have pharmaceuticals shouldn't have commercials. Kind of like I know they don't have what is it? I remember a long time ago they got rid of cigarette commercials. Shoot, they should probably do the same with alcohol too. To let these big corporations constantly promote. I mean, from what I heard, a lot of the pharmaceutical or a lot of the money, like Pfizer and them, they basically sponsor a lot of media, on TV. This is why when you watch, you watch a lot of things. It's like mostly pharmaceutical commercials because they are paying. I think it was, from what I read, I think it was like upwards to like, 50% or 20, or don't quote me on the number, but it was a high, very very high number that they were giving to these media companies so they could constantly promote their drugs. All right, let's keep going. This one is pretty damning. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo participated in medical malpractice and publicly covered up the total number of nursing home facilities fatalities in New York. Now, I know if you remember, I believe they ousted him from governor. Uh, I want to say because of this. I don't remember. I don't live in New York. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think he lost his job with it. In addition to these notable bipartisan successes, the Select Subcommittee developed extensive findings, some of which include. Now, this is where I think they get a little iffy on some of the things they say. The U.S. National Institute of Health funded gain of function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Now we know that, Fauci. That's what Fauci's doing. I still want to look up actually now and see if that is still going on. I know Wuhan. I believe the Wuhan lab is still going. I heard that I think a year or two ago that they were still open, still doing their thing. If that's true, then that's just, you know, it's just another tally of nonsense that continues to happen after such a big event. The Chinese government agencies within the U.S. government and some members of the international scientific community sought to cover up facts concerning the origins of the pandemic. Well, of course, and I believe personally that they're still covering up. I believe we still don't truly know where this thing came from. All right, now this is where I think they missed the mark, and Operation Warp Speed was a tremendous success and a model to build upon the future. Remember, when they say that, I believe they're talking about the actual process of making the jab, right? And how they were able to, make it in, such short time. When in reality, if you actually look at, there's a lot of evidence out there that says that, this thing was made prior, and they had orders out for years prior, and I'm not too 100% sure on that, but I remember seeing that at the time. See, the jab, which are now probably better characterized as therapeutics, yeah, maybe how about bioweapon, undoubtedly save millions of lives by diminishing likelihood of severe disease and death. Yeah, see, that's ridiculous. That's just nonsense. Rampant fraud, and that is one of the big things that they go into. That's where I was actually stopped reading, because they talked about how the PPP and the small business loans and all those things are just. I think it was upwards. I think I wrote it down. The PPP loans resulted in $64 billion of taxpayers of lost money to fraudsters, right? 64 billion, and they overpaid unemployment a total of 191 billion, which is crazy. I remember one of my friends at the time who lost his job, and he got his first unemployment check. I remember him calling me, like, yo, did you get unemployed? I was like, no, I'm working, because I was still working. And he's like, man, he was like, I was supposed to get this much, and they gave me like, and it wasn't just like $50 more, like they gave him like hundreds, I think almost like $1,000 over what he was supposed to get, which was great. And he was like a waiter, right? So it was crazy times, man. So rampant fraud, waste, and abuse plagued the COVID-19 pandemic response. And I think this is one that's really bad. The pandemic era school closures will have enduring impact on generations of America's children. And these closures were enabled by groups meant to serve those children. If you remember, they were making when it all first happened, remember they came out and said that, oh, C19 actually doesn't affect children. Well, it affects you as the older people and people with comorbidities. Children aren't so much affected. They kind of just get some sniffles, they get sick, and then they get over it. Yet, even knowing that, later on down the line, they tried to mandate the jab, mandate the mask, the 6 feet. I mean, I'm out here in California. These people were losing their minds. At one point they were trying. I know that they were trying to jab kids against their parents' wishes, and I'm not so sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they even passed laws in some states to do that. Complete craziness. The Constitution cannot be suspended in times of crisis and restrictions on freedoms. So distrust in public health. Of course. They had this stupid saying, your freedom stops when whatever the stupid sayings that they were saying that will completely just disregard the Constitution. They talk all this democracy and freedom and stuff, but yet you're so quick to push the Constitution aside, our freedoms aside, especially when the survival rate is like 99%. But they didn't say that, though, did they? Of course not. Look, here's the famous one. The prescription cannot be worse than the disease. Republicans were regurgitating that all 2021, end of 2020. Such as strict and overly broad lockdowns that led to predictable anguish and avoidable consequences. Yeah. Yeah, it was bad, man. Another thing that they do talk about in here is its effect on the military. I saw this stat, which is quite crazy. It said there was about 8,000 military servicemen who declined the jab and got let go. When after it all came out, and after we realized, hey, we messed up, they asked all them to come back. Only 43 servicemen, 43, came back after being kicked out. See, and I remember talking to a couple people that did that and said that for the most part it was not even so much them leaving, but how they were treated all along the way. I wrote this down. Was it 347? Let's take a look at that. See, this is really super long. 347. Whew. Let's see. There we go. Oh, this is page 310. God, this thing's big. Whew. Okay, we're coming. Here we go. I mean, they have emails, they have conversations that people had. They have a lot of information in here. There we go. The COVID-19 vaccine mandates hampered U.S. military readiness. According to reports, only 43 of the more 8,000 separated service members rejoined the military. The DoD C19 vaccine mandate directly led to the separation of thousands of U.S. service members, but has also hindered the military's ability to recruit. See, now because nobody trusts you guys now. In the year 2022, the military missed its recruiting goal of 15,000 personnel, 25% of its target. It's quite crazy. So this is a great read. I would say, kind of do what I did. Go to the table of contents, see what you like, see what, piques your interest, and then you can, hit up the page number and, and then, see, read more about it. But, this leads to where people should be reprimanded for this. People should be getting in trouble for this. To have it so blatantly, like it's not like one or two or oh we messed up here, we messed up that. I mean the whole system, the whole situation was just drop the ball, And now I'm supposed to still like and ride with Trump, even though he calls himself the father of the vat. No siree, Bob. This is such a black eye, a mark on the country. And I don't think it gets really the true credit that it really deserves. So, yeah, guys. Look, and it talks about the flaws in the pandemic program oversight. Talks about how certain governors were committing malpractice. I mean, it goes really deep. Really deep. He even talks about the testing. Talks about how the testing of COVID was flawed, which I thought was amazing that they said that. So I'm gonna kind of keep it up there. Oh, I will say if you do check it out, this one right here, over reliance on the World Health Organization. This right here is pretty key, and it will lead to what we're gonna have to deal with in the future of the pandemic treaty. Here we go. The World Health Organization's draft pandemic treaty does not solve the organization's underlying problems and may affirmatively harm the United States, which they're trying to get all major countries to get under now. Where if another one just so happens, then the World Health Organization has a whole plan and everybody will have to abide by their plan and their rules, right? Not the countries, what they say. And that sounds nuts, as we know. I mean, even in here, it says the World Health Organization's report regarding the origins of COVID-19 was incomplete, misleading, and parroted Chinese Communist Party propaganda. But yet we should enter into something with them for the next time? Absolutely not. These people are crazy. So yeah, I mean, this is big news. I know they're probably not going to talk about it on the mainstream news or even mainstream influencers won't probably talk about it like they should. I mean, if I had the time, it'd be great to go over this, but it's so long, it's so big, and a lot of people just, they, how Americans are now. Everybody moves to the next thing in within 10 minutes. So, so that's gonna be it for me, man. The link will be in the description if you guys want to check it out. I advise you guys to check it out if if you're interested. And, have a good night. See you next time on the next video.